Hello, and welcome to another episode of TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen, episode number 533. We are live with Daryl from Future Stuff Incorporated. GM, Daryl, how are you?
Man, I told you wouldn't believe me.
Yeah, I know you've had the start of a great morning, getting to be a builder already today.
Yeah, I got a new dev environment that we started building out because I'm picking up a lot of heavy lifting for the company. So I bought a new desk, I bought some new monitors, and realized I didn't have anything set up this morning. So at 7:30 in the morning, I decided to put a desk together, rebuild my computer, and made it within 5 minutes of the time you want to be there.
Yeah, hey, that's it. If it's done, it's done. I know you accidentally you are no longer in the Twitter space, by the way.
Oh, let me modify that.
Let's fix that.
Yeah.
So people know who to follow when we're talking about this future of space and everything and the craziness.
It says I'm in there as a listener.
All right. Put in a request to speak. There you are. Invite to speak. And I see your request. Approve. And boom, we are good.
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
So we have a couple things to talk about. One, you do some pretty cool stuff sometimes. You think? I'm a little iffy on it. I see the potential of a lot of it, and a lot of it, it's like one of those things to where, what if Noah started building the ark 10 years before it started raining?
That's effectively what we're building. We're looking at the future. That's obviously why the name of the company is Future Stuff. Is what is the next generation of technology, and how do you get ahead of it? I mean, with blockchain and specifically what we built years ago, we were so far ahead of the industry that it took 5 years for something like Bored Apes to come out and compare to what we're doing, because that's the closest you can find as hospitality back with a digital asset is Bored Apes, and we pioneered that in 2017. So it's really interesting to see how these industries evolve, and how you can put something on paper, file a patent, write some code, put it out there, and then a couple of years later, it becomes relevant. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. Different projects that we've got in different stages is about positioning ourselves ahead of what we feel is going to be the next wave of technology.
Okay. And so do you feel that's going to be one of the, by putting yourself at the forefront, do you feel that you're going to have first mover advantage, or are you going to have first mover failure?
Well, that's interesting, because the failure part of a startup or an entrepreneurial role and whatnot, it's your decision when the company fails. The only person that can shut your company down is you. And so if I never shut this company down, did we fail? If it takes us 7 years to get product market fit, did we fail? No, never stopped. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is the founder is the only person that can shut the business down. Now, you might run out of money. You might fire all your employees. You might have to, downplay or sell off some SaaS products to keep the thing going. But as long as the company is running, it's not a failure. In my opinion. I'm going to put my phone because there is an echo. I'll be right back.
All right. And while Daryl runs, I just want to do a quick shout out to everyone that's joining us today in the room. I want to shout out to all the Eskimos, to everyone on LinkedIn, to Player One Taco YouTube, 0xDgens YouTube, Twitch, Twitter video, Twitter Spaces, as well as those that are joining us on Rumble, Kick, and Unlonely as well. And so I think there's some pretty cool stuff coming out and building up in what you're doing, and I wanted to sort of talk about it a little bit. we like, and I know there's some things I can't talk about or
Yeah.
you can't talk about. I know. So maybe I don't know. Can I talk about gas stations?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Orbit Fab is the company that we're talking about, and they are building gas stations in space. And so, what I was explaining to you when we were talking the other day is that right now, when a satellite launches, it has a finite amount of fuel on it. The lifespan of it goes up, and there's no way to refuel these. There's not even a mechanism to refuel these. They seal the tanks. So this guy
Yeah.
created a way for a fuel depot to be deployed up in space and allow for docking of these satellites and have fuel transfer. So that effectively extends the life and creates the price cycle much lower for these satellites because they can operate for many, many, many more years, as opposed to just having that cycle of fuel and then they just decommission them, drop them into the ocean.
And can't that also make so my understanding of space travel and stuff like that, that like 90% of the weight, if not more, on launch is fuel.
You know, I'm not a rocket scientist, and I would hate to give you the wrong information on that, but I believe you're correct, and it makes
Okay.
sense. I mean, you know, if you fill your car up with gas, it's going to be a little bit more sluggish than if you've got fumes in the tank, and that's an old race car trick that we used to do. We'd run the
Yeah.
car all the way down so that when you do a pass on the quarter mile, the car weighs less.
Yeah. And so then the question on that then is if you're so then that potentially means that more scientific instruments can be sent up in one load, thus making the cost of launch cheaper. Expands the ideas of what necessarily could be in a payload. Like if it's always been a weight thing, and now you can send, you just need enough fuel to get into LEO, low Earth orbit, or would the station be like high Earth orbit?
So there's different applications. Right now, they're focusing on LEO, which is obviously where most of the satellites are. But when we start talking about GEO, you need a plethora less of cameras. Like you don't need that many satellites. You could hit the whole Earth with 2 cameras from GEO. So they're focusing on LEO right now because that's where the customers are, and as a business for profit, you want to go where the customers are. But this is also something that can extend the range to get further away from planet. So if we're going to be doing routine trips to Mars, well, you're right. Maybe we can reduce the payload that needs to go up because the fuel's already up there. The other thing that is interesting, and I can also talk about this project, I'm an advisor. It's interesting. Myself and Sam Altman are the only 2 advisors on this project. And the only people that wrote the check of the round that we brought in were Space Fund, Tim Draper, and Sam Altman. And it's called Long Shot. And it's really, in our mind, called the space gun. Because what this guy's doing is using air. And the first iteration was just PVC pipe. And he was able to hit Mach 1.5 in a 20-foot rig. Now he's hitting right around Mach 4 in a 30-foot, 40-foot metal rig that's much bigger pipes. And the goal here is to get to Mach 15. If you can get to Mach 15, we can send solid materials up every like 15 minutes with no fuel. And so that can be fuel. You can send up a solid, rocket, if you will, or a solid projectile and park it and shoot it right where you need to go. And then it's in low Earth orbit and it's able to be picked up by Orbit Fab or whoever other people want to get into this industry. It's not just for fuel, it's any solids. So if you're talking about off-planet manufacturing, how are we going to get the resources off-planet? Well, there's one way, getting it from space, and the other way is getting it from Earth. And so, that's going to come into play when you're setting up, solid chunks of iron and solid chunks of plastics and things that you need to build. And there's a couple companies that are trying to do 3D printing in space. So they're going to need materials, and then they're going to be able to generate things that wouldn't need fuel to get up there. So it's all about, you said earlier about the cost, and what Elon's done in the rocket industry is exceptional because he's able to reuse those rockets. I've been to 4 launches. I've been to one where they landed on the actual, on the actual concrete. And it's really interesting because Megan and I got to go the day before on a VIP tour, and they brought us to that piece of concrete. And you're looking at it, it's just 4 massive slabs of concrete with a lot of blast, on the concrete. And I look at her, I go, this is probably the most important piece of asphalt or concrete in the history of humans, because this allows us to reuse rockets. This allows us to not trash our planet by dumping these huge, fuel tanks into the ocean or leaving them in lower Earth orbit for them to fly into another satellite. So it's really quite fascinating how much cheaper launch has gotten because of Elon and because of the fact that we can reuse the rockets and the satellites are getting smaller. I mean, we're talking about a satellite. They measure them in what's called a 1U, and typically a satellite is a 3U. Okay, and that's basically the size of a loaf of bread. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about cameras in space. We're talking about servers in space, and we're talking about all these things that are operating off planet. They're like that big.
Yeah. Now here's the and I know like Starlink satellites, like they put them up there in like swarms,
Mm-hmm.
to cover areas because they're so small. And I know there's been always been a lot of talk about so much space junk that it's almost making it's like Earth's own little um, protective shield, or like junk field for trying to shoot new things out. Everything's having to be mapped and everything like that. Is there anyone out there that is starting to like? I know a lot of space junk is tracked, but anyone cataloging it on blockchain?
It's interesting that you say that. I'm going to step slightly back and then walk right back into that. So the problem that you're talking about is the fact that these satellites get decommissioned and they just float around. You're also talking about years of NASA just leaving most of the rocket in space, and they crash into each other quite frequently, and it's disastrous. But think about that if you have an operating satellite. Okay, so if you have an operating satellite that crashes into some space junk, you have insurance on that, obviously, but like that's a big problem for scaling up these space projects. So there are two companies that I know of. One of them is not using blockchain, but they are highly talented, and they are basically trying to build tow trucks, tow rigs that'll go save your satellite. That'll go, move your satellite if it's out of fuel, because that's another thing. You can salvage these parts, and if again, with the refueling, it changes a lot. But right now, you've got a multi-million-dollar device satellite up there, and it's ran out of fuel. Well, this rig can go get it. Now, he hasn't launched anything. This is a entrepreneur, a company, I think, of about 5 people, but he's got a lot of potential. He comes from the automotive manufacturing industry, so he understands supply chains and things like that. The other one is interesting. You might know this gentleman. He's in a lot of our groups. It's Alex ETH Fishing.
Okay.
Is that familiar with you at all?
I know the name.
Okay, so he created, and this is another problem that's parallel. He created a game that has NFTs and has a marketplace, and you basically go fishing. Okay, and so you understand how fishing works. Like if you have bigger bait, you catch bigger fish. You have a better rod, you catch bigger fish. All of that is gamified in Web3 as NFTs, and he takes a rake of every sale and donates it to ocean cleanup. The reason why that's important is because there is no customer for cleaning up space. No one wants to pay for that. I came to Megan with an idea like that a while ago, and she's like, no one's going to pay for that. She goes, I challenge you to find a way to solve that problem. And then we met Alex at CES, and he came out to a launch with us in Florida. And we were kind of like, okay, so your code's built for the fishing game. Why can't we make it a rocket game? And so I believe that could potentially become a solution. I mean, if anybody out here is listening and wants to build a Web3 game where you go up into space and you collect rare earth elements and you sell them on a marketplace, that's a thing. And that could fund, low Earth orbit cleanup. But right now, I mean, the governments don't want to pay for it. The governments don't even really talk to each other about this stuff. And so you've got like China just up there acting rogue, doing whatever they want. And so there really needs to be someone that comes together with a VC backable business that is profitable of cleaning up junk. And I just haven't seen anything, besides those two, and they're not even really projects yet. I mean, ETH Fishing works, but I don't think he's even started building the space one yet.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know. So I work with another company, Sea Sweepers, that works on ocean cleanup and stuff like that. Partnered with the Sea Shepherd fleet and stuff like that, collecting ghost nets, and other fishing nets, and reusing that plastic, because that's a specific type of plastic that can actually be remade into fabric for clothes. And so they're starting with a swimsuit line and stuff like that for the fashion side, because that's where all clothing starts, is in the fashion industry. No matter how horrible or you might think it is looking on someone in one of those weird fashion shows, it's an idea that sparks out new lines of thought and technology all the time. It's pretty interesting.
No, that's fascinating. I'd love to see their business model and see if there's an opportunity to do something like that. We have a lot of stealth projects that are out there, and I can't really talk about this one, but there is something very similar to what we just talked about with an asteroid game, except using actual elements. And so, for example, if you were to go mine an asteroid right now and you grab platinum from there, well, that platinum doesn't exist in the global platinum market. Okay. So if I bring that platinum down to planet, I'm going to crash the price of platinum. It's a rare earth element for a reason. It's not rare in space. Matter of fact, these minerals and elements are abundant, but someone needs to create the rig. I mean, it sounds like Armageddon, but someone needs to create the rig that they can go up and they can land on an asteroid. It doesn't even have to be people. It could be machines, and start mining, start drilling, and start collecting and harvesting. So then you get into the supply chain part of it, and you get into the, how do I prove that this is real? Well, that's where blockchain technology can come in. And we do have a URL stood up, but we're not going to announce it right now. And we do have the backing of Space Fund on this. It's been something that Megan and I have been working on since probably 2020. And it'll come out. It'll come out along with another stealth project that correlates to space commerce that we've been working on for about 2.5 years.
All right. And so I want to circle back, because this is one of those things that I am ingrained by Hollywood on this. But every movie I see that includes space and some sort of refueling as part of, like, to get to the next destination, always ends up in catastrophe.
Well, sure. They don't make movies about somebody driving down the street slowly and having a good time. They make movies where there's like things that, either inspire you, make you think, scare you, but it's all entertainment. I mean, and that my background's actually in films. It's funny that you kind of jumped to the entertainment industry because, I went to an event mid 21, I want to say, and there was a gentleman there, and he was talking. It was a space event, but it was really to inspire the people in the room. And he said, "I want to tell you something. Every bit of science fact we have started with science fiction." He goes, "We have submarines because of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea." My mind was blown, because my original idea to get into space was to build Google Maps of space. And of course, my venture capitalist fiance told me, absolutely not, there's no customer. Okay, that makes sense. Google Maps you don't pay for Google Maps. You pay for all the other things that Google gets money on, and then that's why Google Maps is free. So that, if you could look at like Star Trek and you could put in a coordinate and you could fly there, I mean, that's effectively rocket science on the fly. So someone has to create that algorithm. Someone has to create the math on that. There's going to be a lot of testing that goes into that. But that started with a TV show and a series of movies, and now it could potentially be the way that we travel.
Oh, okay. So I'm thinking. I thought this out when we talked, and I was like, what would a Google Maps journey look like if I were to say Earth to Jupiter? Obviously, it wouldn't be a straight line.
Yeah. Again, someone has to build out the coordinates. Someone has to, explain to a computer that can process this information that these are the distances, these are the obstacles. I mean, we got radiation belts and things like that you got to worry about. And again, other debris, other, things that might not be calculated. Like, oh no, there's an asteroid in the path of this flight, but it wasn't in the path of this flight 2 hours ago or 10 days ago. And so there has to be some sort of either human interaction, much like a Tesla, where it kind of tells you, hey, grab the steering wheel right now. Like, we don't got this. And there also has to be some sort of AI, machine learning, that can calculate that can gather the information. Whoever's reporting that there's an asteroid heading into your path, so that then it can change the path.
Well, not only that, but then like the physics of, slingshot and using gravitational pull to travel, because that's how everything pretty much, so I know someone was making fun of Elon the other day because they were making fun of someone because they were talking about a trip to the moon and it taking like 6 or 8 weeks or something like that. And I looked at the path, and it was having to do several orbits both around Earth and around the moon, because people forget that like these things just change a little bit to slingshot and use gravitational force and pull to travel. And the more gravitational pull it gets, the more it gets slingshotted, the farther it gets flung away, and then it gets drawn back, and then it gets flung farther, and then it has to catch orbit of something else with more gravity in such a pattern that it captures it rather than shoots it out. And so all of this stuff is science fiction is always been a part of my growth, as a kid and everything like that. And who didn't want I was about to say camcorder, but what was it? What was a quarter? Oh my gosh. Basically a space phone.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I wanted a shoe phone, like the Get Smart guy had. Remember that? You could take his shoe off and be like, or the Go Gadget watch.
Dick Tracy.
Talking about,
I literally can pull a Dick Tracy right now and talk through my watch. Hello, and I have to put it to my ear to hear because it's a little tiny speaker and stuff. But I can have a full conversation with someone via my watch, which is, shoot that back 20 years, and shoot that back 30 years, and I thought I was King Cool,
King Casio,
because I had a calculator.
Yeah, the Casio calculator. Yeah,
yeah,
for those. So you're talking about slingshotting, and it's interesting you say that. So everybody here probably is familiar with Apollo 13, and either watched the movie or learned about it in school. And that's effectively what they did. They did a slingshot around the moon. Okay. Now, Megan came up with a company a couple of years ago called GeoJump, and they're actually getting to geosynchronous orbit like weeks ahead of what normally would happen by doing a flyby of the moon. By going directly to the moon and flying around it, they're able to get into geo so much faster, avoiding the radiation belts and avoiding all the things that need to be calculated specifically right now to get straight to the moon or to geo. But there's no customers yet for that. That's another thing. It's like, sure, we can do it, but who's putting satellites in geo? There's not many. Everybody's in LEO. All the, everything we live on has a satellite in a lower Earth orbit, from our phones to GPS to, everything. So I think there's a lot of potential for that. I think it just needs to be, marketed correctly. And I think there needs to be a customer, and it's going to happen. Like you said in the beginning, building for things that are 10 years down the road, we're going to have space payments. We know that. Everybody knows that. But who's got the resources to deploy it now without a customer? Well, I do. But most people don't. So that's what you've got to look at when it comes to the technologies being built right now, and kind of bring it back full circle. What we're talking about is like, you should, if anybody's out here is an entrepreneur, and honestly, you can reach out to me if you want. You reach out to us. I want you to go for it. You got a crazy idea? Go for it. Okay, what's it going to cost you? A couple $100 to form a company and your hard work to build a pitch deck, and then maybe you get some investment and you can go hire a team to do it. You don't need to be an engineer to build a rocket company. You need to be smart and hire an engineer to build a rocket company. I mean, that's the bottom line. And again, back looking at like Elon, he's not a rocket scientist. He's not a social media mogul developer. He's not, Zuck in the Harvard dorm coding out MySpace book or whatever they called the first one, the Facebook, I think it was called. But it's like, if you know those people, I mean, when I got into the industry, I had pretty good skills to build websites with code, but I've never built an app. So I hired a developer. I hired the best developer I knew. He built our app in a couple of months. I've now hired more developers, and everybody I hire is smarter than me. And I'm effectively looking at them like mentors, but they're doing the work and they're teaching me. I think I told you this. I learned Python in a week last week. And so now I'm taking on some of the heavy lifting of coding for our team because it's my brain that knows the product. It's my brain that has the vision. And so there's only really one person that should be in there putting things in space. Now, obviously, we have a head of product. We've got, key developers that are going to come in and do a lot of heavy lifting that I can't handle. But that's empowering, Another thing, the people that are watching this, go learn to code. If you don't know how to code, go learn to code. There's free resources across the entire internet. How I got my skills refreshed, because I went to school in 2 and 3 for this stuff, right? And there was no web apps. I mean, there was no computer phone apps like that. So I did Code Academy, and I just refreshed my HTML skills, my cascading style sheet skills. I learned Java, which I hadn't really known. And then, 8 years later, I was talking to my fiance. I was like, you know what, Megan, our whole company runs on Python. I've been looking at code base that these guys are producing. I don't know what it means. Maybe I should learn Python. And I did that one on a paid, it was like $15 for 12 hours of videos. Code with Mosh. He's fantastic. Code Academy is fantastic and free.
Code Academy is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Udemy, Code Academy, Free Code Camp. If someone wants to learn how to code for free, there is 10,000, like you can get a better degree and more, or you can get more knowledge and more experience than if you were to go to school for it.
Hands down. The other thing is, speaking of that, and I did this during the pandemic because I didn't really know what was going on. And I mean, this is obviously 4 years before the crazy Harvard scandal that popped up, but Harvard had free computer science classes online. Yep. And I took CS50, okay, like baby steps, but I'm in Harvard. I'm in the classroom. I mean, everybody's on Zoom because it was like April of 2020. But, that weird life event where, everything became free and on the internet, take advantage of it. And again, reach out. I suggest you follow people that are building in the space. I put some things on Twitter about learning Python, and the Twitter algorithm now has all these programmers. Like I went from VC and crypto Twitter within a week to programming Twitter. And I don't even know how I did it, but now I'm learning, and it's fun too, because like these guys will put their code in there and say, what's the response? And I'll read the code, and 80% of the time I know the response. And then I look at the comments, and the comments confirm that my response was correct. It's just fun. I mean, I suggest everybody goes out and does that.
Yeah. I want to, one of the things that go back to, because you just get stuck on some things, and I like to pick it. But so we were talking about this company that's going to be making gas stations basically in space. And that's just downplaying, that's refueling stations. Yeah. And a docking system done via QR code and payments via blockchain.
That's where we come in. So the solution currently, because this company is obviously an independent company that has been building for a while, was they send a comm down to earth, communication link down to earth. That goes to a banker. The banker pushes a wire transfer through the same way you would do it if you were in branch or on your online banking. That takes 3 to 5 days. And then they send a comm back up. With the QR code technology that we built for Concierge, already exists. They can get the fuel and the money transfer at the exact same time. And so you write a smart contract that says that the fuel gets delivered. Once the fuel is delivered, the money gets transferred. You put it in the same QR code that they use to dock, and that starts the process. Now, what's stopping us from deploying that today? There's no customer. And I need to basically rent space from what's basically the AWS of space, a company called Nebula Compute. And we've had extensive conversations about what we can build on their network and what the hardware they have and the specifics. But why would I expense that right now and there's no customer? As soon as Orbit Fab says, hey, we've got customers, that deploys. It deploys. And it's a completely off-planet blockchain. Again, not trying to get too into the weeds because it's kind of still a stealth project, although the space community knows about it. We just haven't really gone to crypto events or marketed it because people think we're crazy. That, how are you going to buy a beer in space? Through us, through Concierge. And that's always been our business model, was entertainment and hospitality. And so, the Orbit Fab is an interesting one. With the
I want to roll back. So because I've heard of Nebula. So Nebula is basically a company that's running oracles and nodes and validators. It's running its own chain in space.
Correct.
Yeah, let's talk on that for a second.
Okay. So they're building the AWS of space. It's not necessarily a blockchain project. It's a technology project. It's supposed to be an infrastructure for all companies that need to operate off planet. And it's really important because it segregates transactions and country ownership from on-planet companies that have to operate. Like I have a US-based company, so I have to follow US-based laws. There's only one law in space, and that's that no country can own anything. And so if we deploy completely off-planet, then you don't have the SEC. You don't have SEC. You don't have federal government looking at you. You don't have any of the stuff that we have to deal with in the financial markets here. And it's even worse in Europe and parts of Asia. that all goes away. And so, if you're, I like the degen in your thing, if you're degen, if you're, F the government, if you're, I don't have a bank account, like I don't even have a bank account right now. I've got just crypto accounts. And so this is what you want. And this is like a libertarian play if we can get, it done. And also, people wanting to go to space, wanting to live in space. There's no reason once we go multi-planet that we need to follow the laws on Earth. And this is the beginning of setting up a freedom network of financial independence for anybody that wants it. Now, granted, if you put the money back on planet, you got to follow the laws. But if you're, planning on with space really with space tourism is the reason why this is important, because people are going to be going to space. They're going to want to go to space and they're going to want to do stuff. They're not just going to want to look at the Earth for 7 days. They're going to want to gamble. They're going to want to drink. They're going to want the standard entertainment that you get. So if you look at it kind of like a cruise ship, that now comes into play with the of having the money off planet. And if you do it a lot, like if you're rich enough to take your family to Disneyland 3-4 times a year, shit, let's take our family to space. Because at some point, those costs are going to be similar. Because like you said in the beginning, the cost of launch and the cost of flight and the cost of all this stuff is just constantly going down. Megan's got a chart that shows like the cost of launch. It's the opposite of what you want. Like if you're looking at a company scaling, it's the opposite of that. So it starts high and it goes all the way down. And that's why they're able to flying 100 missions out of Kennedy every year.
Yeah. There's something's launching like twice a week.
Yeah.
And that's just out of Kennedy. There's 3 space pads launch sites in the U.S.
There's a few. So the difference is some of them are vertical and some of them are horizontal. So you've got horizontal at Kennedy. You've got horizontal at Vandenberg. I believe they also do horizontal out of Mojave. But then you've got the vertical ones, like the one in Truth and Consequences, which is where Virgin Galactic flies out of. Bezos has one in Van Horn, Texas, for Blue Origin. But those are, Blue Origin's a vertical, vertical. But like Galactic is a plane. Galactic is just launching like a plane, and then a glider comes off the top of it. So there's no, typically with the rockets, they have to be near the water. In case they go boom. We want them to go vroom. Sometimes they go boom. We want them to go boom over the water and not over Minneapolis.
Isn't there a launch pad in Texas too?
Well, there's Van Horn. Oh, you know what? You're right. I totally forgot. Elon has this massive one down in Boca Chica, which is the most southern point of Texas. And I've been there. I've literally been 20 feet from Starship. At Starbase, and it's pretty cool. But that one has only done test firings, I believe. I know they haven't actually launched it. I think they've launched it and it went boom or it landed. I don't know. Megan knows this stuff. I mean, she's the one that's
it went boom instead of broom.
Yeah, I think it went boom. What's so funny? My first rocket launch, it was no, it wasn't. It was a Space Entertainment Network setting up satellites on a SpaceX Falcon 9, right? And so we're getting ready to go, and I'm like, "You ready to go see a rocket go boom?" And she's like, "No. Rockets don't go boom. Rockets go vroom." One of the most amazing experiences ever. If you've ever gotten a chance to see a rocket launch, it's like better than 100 drag racers racing down a quarter-mile drag strip at the same time.
Okay. It's one of those things that I have not yet got to experience, but it's on the list of to-dos.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever find yourself down in South Texas, definitely check it out. I don't know if you know this. There's a little strand that looks like what probably South Beach looked like 60, 70 years ago. And it is beautiful. South Padre Island. And then just south of that, you got to go all the way around Brownsville, but just south of that is the rocket. So like from our hotel, I could see the rocket.
Okay. Man, I'm in Texas right now. I might have to go do this.
Yeah, it's about 6 hours from Houston, and I think you're about 4 hours from Houston, so it's doable. Yeah. It's not. I wouldn't do it in a day. I would go for a couple of days, and especially if it's cold in Dallas, man, it's beautiful. I went for the South Padre for Valentine's Day, and we're swimming. I actually thought I was in Florida. I said something to Megan. I was like, Florida's pretty nice. She's like, Daryl, you're in Texas. I was like, oh, that's right.
Yeah, man. I just so Elon's been getting I want to speculate with you for a minute. Okay. Elon's been getting a lot of shit lately.
Yep.
And maybe this is something I've been doing my own crypto Twitter, research on this and doing, what I can in my Google searching and stuff like that. But like I loved the idea that like when he first got onto Twitter, bought it and sort of like pulled the trump card of like, um, well, I'm not going to buy it. Now, then got forced to buy it. And then he was like, well, I'm not going to get paid unless we get, Tesla and Twitter get to this level. And everyone's like, you're losing money like a sinking ship. You're never going to get there. And so everyone's like, oh, that's amazing of him. Like, he's such a great leader. Like, he's like, shooting for the stars, and he only hits it. He doesn't even get the moon. He only gets it if he hits the stars. And now, and that was voted upon, and that was approved by the board, approved by everyone that voted for it. And now it's being brought up in Delaware to hold that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. I want to, follow the journey of Elon. Okay, so he's a California, venture capitalist, effectively. He got a ton of money off of early projects that he built, including, the X.com stuff that he did in the beginning and whatnot. So he, is surrounded by Democrats in California and really leaned on that for a very long time. His best friends are Peter Thiel and Jason Calacanis, and Jason Calacanis and the All In podcast are very vocal about politics, and that's what he was surrounded by. And then California told him he couldn't operate his plant during the pandemic, a plant that is segregated and on an island in Alameda. Okay. So he moves it to Texas. So now he's surrounded by these freedom loving, gun toting Texans. So everybody knows and loves. And, maybe his, in Austin. So it's a little bit less than Dallas or Houston, but still it's Texas. I've lived in Austin. I know what it's all about. And so he's following this journey and realizing all his friends are idiots and all the people he's surrounded are idiots, and everybody that he's listened to for years about how he should run his company and where he should have his companies and where the best, base of developers and programmers and engineers are. And he realizes that he doesn't need to do that. And that coincides with him building out Boca Chica. So now his mentality is shifted. Okay. I don't think he cared a damn about any of the money part of this. I think that this was about freedom of speech, and basically after the Trump election, watching how Twitter played a huge role in that and seeing how many fake accounts are on there. I mean, it's night and day what Twitter is compared to what it was. And I didn't use it for years, and now I'm on it, and I've actually gotten rid of my Facebook. I don't have Facebook on my phone anymore because of this stuff. So if you look at what now they're trying to do, I believe what happened is his company's in Delaware and it's liable for a certain amount of taxes based off the revenue, but I don't think was that personal tax or was that business tax?
It was business tax.
Okay.
And it was paid, but then at the same time, his pay package is being denied because he hit the goals and marks that he had set forth years ago for him to get, to hit $650 billion in revenue. He was going to get a $55 billion stock option, payday, and when that was made, his company was like 900 million. So like it was in the 100 billions. So like it was like it was like because it had to be like a 6x in revenue, and I was just I'm flabbergasted by that, like that we're at that stage right now to where democracy should be, shouldn't be used to be punitive. And that, like, for me, this reminds me of I don't know if you do anything in the Cosmos ecosystem.
That's Adam, right? I think I have
Yeah,
some.
Adam. Yeah, and so there's one of the chains within Cosmos, Juno.
Okay.
And there was a buyer that, even like through all the downs and ups and downs, he believed in it and he kept buying it. Kept supporting, kept staking and everything like that. And because he kept buying and kept staking, he created one, he was supporting the ecosystem like no other. But he accumulated a lot. So much so that when his unstaking period was coming up, everyone was so freaked out that he was going to dump and take profits with his from his own money, that they effectively voted to take his coins away
Wow.
and take his position away.
It's the opposite of how crypto is supposed to work.
Exactly.
So who's back to the Elon thing real quick? Who's not paying him? The board, or is the state stepping in?
So Delaware courts have halted it and put a block on it for now. Let me look this up again real quick, just so we're fresh on this.
I saw something about that, but I've just been so busy programming and coding and not really on the internet, not on social media that much the last couple of days, last week or so.
Yeah. So a Delaware judge has scrapped a $55.8 billion compensation package for Elon after years of legal arguments about his pay. Tesla stocks dropped 2% after the ruling before recovering at a close above. So let's this is really weird. This is where I get a lot of real news. One of the places, Al Jazeera. I got to shout out to Al Jazeera because they sort of don't really give two hoots about U.S. media rules, and they put real stuff out. So speaking in court, Judge Kathleen McCormick said the amount was unfathomable and blamed Tesla's leadership for not properly informing shareholders about it. Let's see here. Judge has Wednesday's ruling came after a shareholder sued Tesla directors in 2018 in the Delaware Court of Chancery, claiming that Musk was overcompensated. And you got to think, in 2018, they weren't anywhere near this, and Tesla was down and stuff like that, claiming that Musk, the pay package agreed in 2018 to be paid out over 10 years after Musk hit certain targets, was the biggest in U.S. state corporate history. It contributed to Musk's standing as the world's richest man as the CEO, hit dozens of targets set by 2023. So 2018 is when, like, he set these benchmarks that if he hits these targets, then over a 10-year period, he would get this compensation. So let's see here. Musk, who founded Tesla in 2003, did not receive a salary from the electric car maker. He agreed to a $56 billion compensation package in 2018 to cover a period of 10 years. The deal awarded Musk stock options, about 1% of Tesla's equity each time the company achieved one of its operational and financial goals, such as ambitious aims set in 2018 to increase Tesla market cap from 59 billion to 650 billion within 10 years. So oh my gosh, that is not a 6x, that's a 12x.
That's insane.
This meant hitting targets set for Tesla's share price and the company's profitability. Musk hit all 12 targets set by Tesla by 2023. So he didn't set these targets. Tesla set these targets. Shareholders voted on them.
And so the shareholders don't want to pay? I mean, that's basically what's happening.
So this was approved in 2018. So he was a $59 billion company in 2018. And one shareholder sued, saying that was too much.
That happens a lot. You'd be surprised at how many, silent shareholders that bought into something that thought there was going to be a faster return, especially in the venture world, where they don't realize that the funds are 10-year funds and that you don't get profit for the first couple of years. That's insane. That's freedom right there, guys. I mean, that freedom being restricted by a Delaware judge, that should go further, up. I mean, if the shareholders approved it, and he hit his marks. It's like saying to a baseball or football player, hey, you win the championship, you win the World Series, you win the Super Bowl this year, you're going to get a bonus. And if you think about it, it's not that unprecedented. I mean, what's Jamie Dimon make a year?
Oh my God, like this Richard Tornetta is the individual shareholder
Mhm.
who he owns just 9 shares of Tesla.
Wow. I own more shares of Tesla than he does.
And what's according to the court, Tornetta's lawyers will be compensated by Tesla.
Wow. They should just buy him out. He's nothing. They should buy him out.
Yeah, Tornetta's lawyer argued that Tesla shareholders were not informed how easily Tesla's financial goals would be achieved when they voted on the package, and Musk, who owns more than 411 million shares, did not need further incentives.
Wow. That's like telling me, a owner and founder of a company, that if I do really well, we're not going to pay you anymore.
Yeah.
That's
and that Musk has too many ties to the committee members and board members of Tesla. So it's like, he made the board. Of course, you would have relationships with them.
Hmm? That's what board people are. I mean, so you put a board of directors up so that they can manage basically the C-suite. And so you can be a founder and the CEO, but you still want a board for accountability. You either want advisors or you want directors, and you can have both. Yeah. And they can commingle. I mean, our team is a combination of your board members, advisors, and people that work on the project. And we meet every week on Wednesday and discuss for an hour what the goals of the business are for the week and what we've achieved in the previous week. But that's insane that they would approve it, know that it was there, and that just means that the shareholders that voted on this, because Musk can probably vote the whole thing. I mean, what's his percentage of ownership of that? What's that?
11% of the company.
Okay, that's actually kind of small. So if you got 89% of the company to vote against that, then he wouldn't have gotten it. But it means that he got a 50% approval, and so that means that maybe Peter Thiel's got a chunk of the company and we don't know about, and he could have had a swinging vote. I know that with my company, my business partner, my co-founder, and I own almost all of the company. We own about 80%, 80 some odd percent of the company. And when we bring on new VCs or we bring on new hires, they break off either in the VCs get shares and the new hires get options, and so that number is slowly dwindling down. But if you don't control your company, man, I don't.
Well, and so this is something I've seen Elon talk about before, when he was asked of why he doesn't have ownership, and so he's wanting to he wants to expand. He sold shares so that he could pay off for the $44 billion he paid for Twitter. And he wants to buy more Tesla shares to get him up to a 25% stake.
Smart.
But what I've heard him say before is that he would rather own a portion of 40 companies than a majority stake in one, because he's like, if you own the majority stake, then you're the one that the buck stops at.
Yep.
Then you have to make all of the decisions. And he's like, instead, I surround myself with, I think he said, people smarter than him, or more experts on what relies for that specific company, to hit its goals and grow, that he's just someone in the crowd. Obviously, Elon's never someone just in the crowd, and that's like a very altruistic statement. I just want to be in the background. You're Elon Musk. You're never in the background. You could own let's say a company had 1 billion shares, and Elon owned one of it. That would be a driving factor.
Well, the thing you got to remember about Tesla is Elon didn't found Tesla. Elon came to the founders of Tesla. So that deal that they probably made was that of a new hire employee type of relationship and not founder. And so that's probably where his, why he's got such a small percentage, and obviously selling some of the shares. But he's right. And that's a very VC mentality. Is I would rather own, 40 companies and have a teeny tiny percentage in it, because you know what? One of them becomes unicorn and it pays for all the other ones. I mean, we talked about this on our other call, but we have like 7 or 8 projects in the mix right now. Now, they're all under Future Stuff Inc., but we start spinning them out. So like we spun out one company in 2021 because we brought in a little bit of capital from an outside investor. And so that now became its own Delaware C Corp. And he's right. I think the same way. I know Megan thinks the same way. I'm sure, you on, and think about it with crypto. I mean, okay, when Doge popped, what, like 4 years ago or 5 years ago or something like that.
Yep.
All I was telling people is I got all my Doge for free. I got all of my Doge for free off faucets. And they're like, what? How do you use faucets? What does that mean? And I'm like, okay, let me explain to you how to go to a website, press a button, and get, free crypto. And that's why I've got so many different wallets and so many different coins. And, like you said, if one pops, sweet.
Yeah.
That's been my mentality the whole time.
I am the same way. And I gave, and people forget about faucets. They forget about Reddit.
Mhm.
And, Doge was originally made as a joke.
Yep.
I got paid roughly $30 of Doge once. It was about 3 billion. Okay. For helping someone fix their accessibility features.
Yeah. Yep.
On their computer so that they could have dark mode enabled. And the funny thing with it was I gave almost all of it away because like I gave $1 million Doge to one guy because he sent a funny meme in a Reddit group that like it was, and I don't remember what it was, but I remember it was like
Yeah.
one of those ones.
You're like, that one got me, man.
Yeah, you're like dumb. Let me look. And it could have been as something as stupid as like, and I'm not like once a cuke is a pickle, it can never be a cuke again, or something like that, and like maybe like a cucumber or a pickle standing outside of a group of cucumbers all sad. It could have been something as stupid as that.
We were giving away Bitcoin in 2017 when it was like $1,800 a coin. And we were running a Bitcoin faucet back in the day. And I wish, and my poor developer who wanted to get paid in US dollars. So I'm going to Bitcoin ATMs and I'm selling it to pay him, do you know what that would be worth? I mean, you know how much it's appreciated since then.
I threw a paper wallet once with 50 Bitcoin on it.
Wow.
Because I was too lazy to pull it apart because I put it through the laundry in my pants. And I was too lazy to go through and figure out the hash for that. So
that sucks, man.
Yeah, and I sold all of my Bitcoin in like 2013 when Bitcoin was $250. And 3 months later it jumped up to like $2,300, And
oh, I know. I haven't been in it that long, but I've watched it. And the thing about me personally is I've always had to use crypto to operate my business. I live off crypto. I've got a crypto.com card. I had a BitPay card before that. I've got, I don't do Coinbase because Coinbase is evil.
Don't say that. We'll argue this one.
Okay, let's chat about that. So Coinbase and Brian are trying to lobby for crypto laws, and they want to be on the side of the SEC and how corporate governance works in the banking and financial worlds. They are never going to be the solution for anybody that's degen or, living off grid or a libertarian or the true, anarchist movement that started this crypto thing is not Coinbase at all. They tell you what your taxes are. Taxes, like, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about fighting the government and the financial systems, or are we talking about bending over and letting them fuck our industry up? And so I only used Coinbase in the beginning. And it was only because it was the first thing that when I was learning, someone said, this is how you get a wallet, go to Coinbase. And then I realized that wasn't in a wallet because I didn't hold the private keys. And then I got Exodus and I learned my lesson. You know what I mean? And so that's my whole basis about Coinbase is they're the opposite of what the industry should be doing to decouple itself from the worldwide financial markets. Because the only time that we're ever going to have a crypto industry that actually works is when they don't tell you what the price of Bitcoin is based off the US dollar. When you can start to arbitrage the value of coins against goods, the value of those coins versus what the value of the goods are, that now creates a value. You don't need to have Bitcoin pegged to the US dollar for it to be a worldwide payment or Ethereum or some altcoin that hasn't even been created yet that runs on faster technology. And that's the problem. The biggest problem is the companies that are succeeding in crypto right now are band-aids. They're band-aids. Okay. The two I just mentioned, BitPay, crypto.com, those are band-aids. And they still work within the financial regulations in the financial sector. And they're still, in baby stages. But the way Coinbase works with the government is exactly the opposite of how these industries are.
So this is my counterpoint to that.
Copy.
And I don't smoke pot. All right. But how was it that marijuana got mainstream adoption? By figuring out how to tax it.
Well, true, but that's why it ran out of the scene in the first place, is because they passed taxes on hemp growers, but the oil companies and the paint companies and the paper companies, like DuPonts and whatnot of like the 1920s and 30s, lobbied for taxes that were so high that you couldn't grow.
Exactly. And so you have to start somewhere. Now, if you're going the Elizabeth Warren route and creating false statements that crypto is only used by cartels and fentanyl, and you're not putting any legitimacy to it, then then you're letting fear and fear mongering and false things take the ground. Now, in my opinion, what Coinbase is doing, it is since there is no true regulation, they're trying to provide future-proofing themselves, like, hey, we're letting people choose whether or not to decide, because we are a U.S. company, financial institution. They are financial. That they're outside of, like, crypto.com isn't operable technically in every single state in the U.S. because they don't want to go through every single state.
You're talking about like New York with their special bit license.
Yeah, bit license and stuff like that. Where Coinbase has sat down and they've spent the years and they have worked to become an institutional payment center. And not only that, but yes, what's really hilarious, everyone says Coinbase is the bad guy. And even like JP Morgan hates Coinbase. Everyone says that they hate Coinbase, but who are they using for their institutional holdings? The only person that got themselves set up so that crypto could be a institutional foundation traded at an institutional level, which will push mainstream adoption. Just remember how we were talking about fashion earlier and how the craziest things go across the catwalks, that then get turned into that hoodie that's just a little bit of a short hoodie that you can't put all the way across your head because it's just supposed to sit around your neck and look cool. All right. Well, it started off with that crazy thing. That's the same way how it gets down into the from institutional level to mom and pop, is if the big banks start doing things in crypto, then that will filter down to mom and pop.
Okay, I'll counter that. And I agree with what you're saying. You are 100% if that's who you're building and catering to. But the idea of crypto is supposed to be peer-to-peer transactions. I'm supposed to be able to send you crypto instantly from my phone or from my computer or however we want to do that transaction. And the governments and these institutions are kind of gumming up the works. Like, I don't need, Jamie Dimon to have crypto on Coinbase for what I want. What I want is to be able to be out in the woods. And I was going to say this earlier, but I'm going to tell you a story. It's really great. What I want to be able to do is be out in the woods and barter with people and use crypto for goods and services. Like, I run out of beer while we're camping, I go to the next guy and I pay him in crypto. I need firewood or something. There was a festival called Float Fest that our friends at Float, which is not a company anymore, but they were doing very well for a while, out in Texas. And there was about, 600 people there, a bunch of RVs, 100 acres of land. And so I built a bartering platform during the pandemic. And this was our first time collecting customer data. Effectively, I ran a taco stand for 4 days at this festival. And I accepted cash. I accepted all crypto that was on crypto.com, Waves, or my Ether wallet. There was 3 of them that I had. And I got paid in Atom. I have Atom coins because I sold tacos. I have Ethereum because I sold tacos. I've got Doge and all these other crazy coins because I sold these tacos. And I'll mind
because they had US dollar value.
Sure. But I set the US dollar value. Okay. I'll go even further into the weeds. Okay. There was ammunition being sold at this festival. And the price of ammunition at the time was 80 cents a round for 9mm. I set the price at 50 cents a round for 9mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's what was being paid for goods and services at this event. And if you think about it from a food standpoint, I ran an 80 or a 13% food cost. 13% food cost. Okay. So I ran an 87% profit. I'll take crypto all day for that. I actually wanted more crypto than I wanted US dollars because I knew where the industry was about to go up. I knew that all crypto was down. It was really bad in the early days of 21. It was right before all the NFT stuff really went up. And this was pre-conferences. I think this is 2 months before Wayne's first conference, and I think he was the first one to do a conference in the United States after the pandemic. So that's my thing. These are the people I hang out with. I hang out in the woods. I go camping. You know, we're Nevadans out here. We're not Californians, and we live a little bit of a different lifestyle. But I get that if you're, Joe Banker that wants to get into crypto, the first person you're going to call is Coinbase because you know it and it's safe and it's familiar. And so I can see those points. But I don't think that we should be building for those types because those are the ones that ruined the financial market already. We should be building for the independent. What's that?
I think we need to build for both because, how are we going to get our grandma into crypto? And
we need our grandma in crypto though.
We do. And so we need our grandma in crypto, but how are we going to do that? If people spent more time on UI than they did, than on anything else, you can make if they spent more time on UI, then we would still be using V2 Uniswap contracts because those are good, those are solid. But then the UI would be streamless and everyone would, everyone's like, oh, you get on your desktop and it will work. Well, no, I'm not going to pull my laptop out to pay someone to be safe. I'm going to pull out my phone. I'm going to tap, or I'm going to scan a QR code. But we're at a point right now to where there's such a black mark on the industry that I was on the boardwalk for 4 hours in Barcelona, right outside a casino. So I was talking to all sorts of people from all around the world. All right. And I was giving away sats. I was giving away 50 sats for them to download User, YZER, and I was giving them 200 sats to download Wallet of Satoshi, both self-custody wallet.
That's badass.
And a Bitcoin education platform that gives you more sats just for taking the super easy classes and courses. And so the idea that I had was, let me, so it was like 250 sats. And then they also got 200 sats from Wallet of Satoshi for setting up their wallet. Like they can just open up Wallet of Satoshi and accept sats. But if they go through and they set it up and personalize it, they get another 200 sats.
Wow.
User, they go and finish their first course after downloading it, they then get another 50 sats. So it's giving away 500 sats. Yes, that's not a lot right now.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. It's going to be a lot in the future.
And it doesn't matter if it's going to be a lot in the future, but then they could earn more. I think you could, if you go through all of User's courses, you can earn a Bitcoin.
Really?
Worth of sats.
Really?
It's either a Bitcoin or half a Bitcoin, it's either 1 or 0.1 Bitcoin total. If you go through every single course, on User.
Wow. That's impressive. I might actually do that.
I'll send you my link so you get an extra free 50 sats to start off with.
Please do, bro. Please do. Let's do it.
But this is what I love. But then what was really hilarious is I was literally giving away money and out of my wallet, and people said, no, it's a scam, or they're not allowed to do that where they're at, or they work for a bank and they're not allowed to. Well, what's really hilarious is the best way to start is at that institutional level. but to get that is regulation. Now, what's really hilarious, Coinbase fights at both an institutional level and user level. They're fighting this KYC shit.
Interesting.
You
Yeah,
know,
we were fighting the KYC thing as well.
where every wallet needs to be KYC'd, every process needs, like, that's stupid. You can't you can't KYC a smart contract, you know, and and it's there's a lot of crazy stuff. And to circle this back to, we were talking about this when Elon tweeted Doge April of 2021, 22.
Oh, that time. I thought you were talking about like 4 or 5 years ago when he first started tweeting about Doge.
Yeah, it went from a lot of zeros to 21 cents. And what little Doge I had, I was like, this is a joke. This should not be happening. I'm selling it.
Wow.
Now, if I had waited a few months, I would have, 3x from where I was. But this is stuff I gotten for free. This is stuff that I gave away for free. And to roll this back, the guy that made me laugh, I sent 1 million Doge to. If he sold at the top of the market, I paid someone $750,000 to laugh.
Wow. And he didn't even get ownership. You didn't even get the meme.
I didn't even get no, it wasn't even, it was like, man, thanks for making me laugh. Here's a tip.
That's great.
And so literally $750,000 I paid to someone to make me laugh.
Wow. Yeah, it's wild, man. I understand that, and obviously creating our own crypto, I've watched it go from a value of absolute zero, and it went up, it went down, it went back up, it went down, and market conditions, and whatever. And some of these deals that I made early on for sponsorship using our coin, I look at what we paid was like something like $14 million in sponsorships to attend conferences and speak at gigs, and we had a PR company we paid in crypto, and just all this stuff. And so it's like, but that's the world that we have to live in. Like, I have to live off crypto. We talked about Gala the other day, and I run their nodes, but that's effectively my salary. So I've got to be able to sell that so that I can keep the company going, so I can keep myself going and buy food and stuff. My company car and whatnot. But that one's been on an epic ride. I think it went up to 80 cents. It dropped down to less than a penny. It's hovering somewhere just above 2 pennies right now, or 2.5 pennies, depending on what day it is. And but every day it keeps coming in, and that company is about to go crazy, I think. But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I can give you some alpha. I got asked, Jason Brinkman.
Yeah.
Do you know Taco Gala?
I don't know. Maybe I'm in the Discord, and I know
top of the drop from Gala Music.
Okay.
So, this is praise, and that I don't feel as deserving, but like when you get complimented, I do not take compliments well. I get bashful, I get shy, I shut up. But what I was taught by my grandma, by someone, not my grandma reinforces it, but by someone else who's a lot smarter than me, who thinks I'm smarter than her, but I still think that she's smarter than me, is if you don't know how to take a compliment, just say thank you. And so that's what I did, but he was like, look, Gala's wanting to move itself to be be a super chain. And he's like, you are the best person, I think, and most well-connected and most knowledgeable person to help this happen. I'm like, and I think you can help Gala do that. And I'm like, what? Me? No, fuck no. What? Thank you. I guess.
Is that connected to the new campaign they came out with for marketing with social media and live events? Because I also applied for that to host the Las Vegas gala of
Yeah.
galas. And I mean, we've got thousands of people that show up to our events out here when we throw events, if not tens of thousands, depending on which event you're talking about. But we see that as a great partnership. We've been with Gala since they did an event in Vegas in 2019 that Chris went to, my business partner went to, and he was so blown away. And then they invited us up to Salt Lake or to Sundance in this big mansion. And that's another company, we bought in with our coins. But that's been a beautiful relationship, and we champion them. We've got green nodes too. I guess I'm getting music coins now, and all the other coins that come off the node every day. It's amazing to see this company make it through a lot of hurdles. Be almost 5 years that we've been with them, so who knows when they actually started? But they're kicking butt. And my buddy Billy was just up in Utah with them for another. I don't know if you know Billy Womack. He's the one that got me into Gala. He's based in Tampa now. He's in Vegas. But yeah, no, they're doing things, and I'm really impressed. I want to get my hands on that SDK. I got to do some more stuff with Concierge first. I've got some programming and coding that we have to do on our end to get another product out. But that's going to be like what I do for my free time for fun, is try to figure out how to deploy on Gala. What can I build on Gala? Because again, the chain is strong. The node network is huge. I think there's like 30,000 nodes out there. Now, granted, I own 6, and if we're talking about how decentralized this thing really is, a lot of them are probably running on virtual servers, and if a virtual server got hit, then the network was in it. But that's a conversation for scalability down the road of how you incentivize people to actually set up nodes as opposed to buy them. Because I got a node upstairs that we're running for Concierge. It's expensive. It's expensive to build, and it's expensive to maintain. I've got to have a static IP and all this other stuff. But with Gala, my green nodes, I just go to Vulture and just deploy, some instances of Linux, and type a few lines of code, and it just works. And it's also a great way to get into program, or into knowing how this programming and coding world works, is to run these nodes, because they give you the documentation. It's super easy once you understand it. But like the first time I saw a sudo install Gala, I was like, the hell is this? But makes it easy. Copy the line, put it in, runs it.
Yeah. No, I think that there is some really cool stuff there that really doesn't really get talked about.
I agree.
Doesn't get tacoed about.
I'm addicted to Townstar. I'm just gonna put it out there. My girl hates it. She's so happy that I started doing the coding stuff, because I'm not playing Townstar. But most of the time when I'm on my computer, I got, with work I'm doing, Townstar open in a corner. And so, and it's the most I'm sorry, I don't want to insult the developers of Townstar. But it's not a very graphic heavy game. It's not a very you're not constantly driving around and doing stuff, but it's addictive to watch these little human robot thingies run around. And we're in California, and I said something about there's an oil derrick. I'm like, I got a couple of those in Townstar. Megan did not think that was funny at all.
Man, no. So if you're up for running nodes and stuff like that and validators, I would suggest Quai.
Okay.
QUAI.
Okay.
Their proof of work with an 3-layer chain, area, state, and region.
Okay.
So for the scalability side and roll-up side. And they're looking for more people to run nodes, and it's heavily and there's a faucet too. You can get like one Quai every few hours.
Yes, I've got my screen set up for this, and I'm not gonna just text me.
Yep, I'll text you. Yeah, but then man, there's just so much cool stuff coming out.
I agree.
And I do a ton of stuff. I'm chain agnostic, but I do a ton of stuff in Polkadot.
Okay.
I do a ton of stuff in Solana. I do some stuff in Hedera. I'm not a fan of it. Do some stuff on Cardano just because I don't leave money on the table, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And
do you do anything with Waves?
No, not really. I think I have a Waves wallet somewhere, maybe, but that's about it.
Did I make you sign up for it? We love Waves. We've been building on Waves forever, and they were the first true decentralized exchange. And so it's like when you say those words, people are like, oh, that's true. Every time I go on an exchange, I don't hold the keys. And so with Waves, you hold your private keys, but you can sell directly on the DEX.
Yep.
And that was really the impressive,
You might like Cube Exchange.
Okay.
They just secured. It was either 12. This is a big difference. They either just finished their Series A for 12 million or 25 million.
Okay.
I know the founder, but what they did, it's a distributed key. You have the Guardian, and you have Cube that each has a key that can sign. So if you're doing a trade, it's you and Cube that are co-signing for transactions. But one of the things that they're doing for new users is to learn how to emergency pull via the contracts. And so you and the Guardian then sign off on this, and so on this transaction. And so you can, if shit hits the fan or you get geo blocked for some reason, via smart contracts, you can pull your funds.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So, and I just want to do a huge shout out to them. Fit the Panda, you're amazing. Yeah, growing that out of Chicago, so huge stuff coming up.
That's awesome.
But I just I get to continuously see new things being built. But because you like, what is it, Farmland? Townstar, you might want to check out Parallels the Colony.
Okay.
You build out AI agents, and they then, like, based off of your gameplay and how you set them up, they go and create items in game and mineral, like they go mine, they go do all of these tasks.
Sounds like Warcraft.
And they create things and they sell them for you. And they build. You're building your own AI agents, and then they go and they run your marketplace. They go figure out, you're like, I want to make things that are color pink only. And so then, or something along those lines, you can command that, and then they sort of build out from there. But there's a lot more to it than that. I just completely dumbed it down to like one line of pink,
Awesome.
And the word pink is on my mind because I saw this sign the other day that I cannot burn out of my mind, that it said, if it's pink, it's mine. So I cannot get that mind, that billboard ad out of my head. Daryl, this has been an amazing time. So I want to thank you. I want to shout out to everyone that's been joining us in and out of the rooms. I've seen you come through on LinkedIn. I've seen you come in through 0x Degens YouTube, Player One Taco YouTube, Twitch, Telegram, Unlonely, Rumble, Kick, Twitter video, as well as Twitter Spaces. I want to shout out to everyone for joining us on TacoBytes, your Daily Bite of Degen, episode number 533. We ended up with the space name getting changed to What Is Up with Elon? As we changed the name to like Space Junk and something else. But I ask that you find Daryl and you give him a follow. It's for the algorithm. It is at DARRYLLD on Twitter. Give him a follow. See what he's building out at Future Stuff Incorporated. Daryl, I want to thank you so much for this time. And as we end our show the same way every time, if there's someone on stage with us, they get to be a participant in it. We end with our final thoughts and words of wisdom. And then I have the best, worst knock-knock joke on the face of the planet, and it's how we've ended this show 532 times.
Love it.
So 10 seconds, final thoughts and words of wisdom.
Final thoughts are you should be building and listening to what we're talking about building. And the words of wisdom are every single resource out there is available for free on the internet. So go get yourself a coding class, go learn how to build a website, go learn Photoshop, go download the free version of Photoshop or Google's version. It's all there. The only thing stopping it is you.
All right. Definitely. And as always, my words of wisdom are always the same. A closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth, meaning if no one knows you're looking for opportunity, opportunity can never come a knocking. If opportunity does come a knocking and no one answers, it's going to keep on walking. With that, I want to thank everyone for joining us today on TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen, episode 533. And we get to end with the same joke that we've always told because we haven't come up with one better. And I don't think we're going to, but this is out of honor for those that come before us and those that come after us. Daryl, you ready for this joke? It's pretty amazing.
I'm ready.
All right. Knock, knock.
Who's there?